It's going to be another sprint up the beach between these two colossuses of surf life-saving. The professor, he's put on a clinic again. The shadow of Hurst was on his shoulder coming into this series, and he has said, bring it on. Eckstein sprints up the hill here at Coogee. Shannon Eckstein puts the left arm in the air. What a great champion. Eckstein wins the title.
The boss is back in charge, making his way to the line. Shannon Eckstein wins at Currumbin, and that is an extremely dominant performance. Shannon Eckstein, he's the king of Karawa.
He's working so hard to get out of the beach. He's lost the board. He's now surfing back to the beach. He took on Coolum, he eyed off Huey, and now he takes out round 3. Shannon Eckstein conquers Holmes at Coolum. Shannon Eckstein digs deep, and Shannon shakes him up in the Shire. Eckstein does it again in 2010.
Hear me okay? Yeah, cool. Thanks very much for coming out. Thanks especially to Shannon to giving up his precious time to come out this evening. I know we're all very interested to hear about this great man. So I won't spend too long on the mic. I'll just hand you over to Brad, who's going to introduce Shannon to us. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Peter. So guys, welcome along tonight, and tonight's been something I haven't told Shannon this, but I've had in mind for many years. I thought it would be great to sit down with Shannon and actually unpack some of the success tips and insights that Shannon's been able to use throughout his career, and so it's great to finally get the opportunity to sit down. So firstly, mate, thanks for coming out tonight and giving up your family time. We really appreciate it. And the purpose of tonight is really like an informal chat. So Shannon and I are literally going to be sitting here as if we were having a coffee, and you guys get to watch in on or listen in on the conversation and watch the conversation unfold. It doesn't make sense, does it? You know, listen to the conversation unfold. I've had the privilege of being Shannon's physio since 2008, which was when a mutual friend of ours from the Surfers Surf Club first connected us. And I first met Shannon back when I first moved to the Gold Coast in 1999, and through this mutual friend Zane Hamill, I got to know Shannon then, and that was just before Shannon went on to win his first Australian Ironman title, I think the age of 18, was that right? Yeah, so it's been a great last decade of watching the success since then. So just to kick the night off, guys, we've got a bit of footage up on the screen that nutri-grain produced showing some of Shannon's highlights, and the only precursor to this is that the numbers are wrong. So Shannon's got a good habit of breaking records, so we just have to excuse the fact that a few of the numbers are out of date now, and there's been more titles added since this was produced. But unfortunately we can't project it this way, so if everyone's necks allow, we're going to spin around the back of the room, and feel free to stand or kneel or whatever, and check out some of Shannon's footage.
Round 3, Shannon Eckstein conquers Holmes at Coolum.
So So I've got the updated stats, and Shannon wouldn't reveal these, but I asked and I got a little nod. So 5 times world champion, 8 times nutri-grain champion, 7 times Australian Ironman champion, which in the sport of surf lifesaving is the Olympic gold, the coveted one, and 36 Australian gold medals, and we're not sure how many team captains for Australia. There's been quite a few. So very impressive. And before I hand over to Shannon with some questions, as someone that's had the privilege of working with Shannon over these years, I just thought of a few things that from a physiotherapy perspective, obviously I get to see lots of people through the rooms, and earlier this year I had to sort of do an approximation of how many consults I've delivered in 10 years, and it was around 25,000. And as I thought about what's the behaviours of Shannon that differentiate Shannon from many of the other athletes I have great fun and enjoyment working with, a few observations were, from my memory, Shannon has never had a DNA on an appointment at physio practice in over 8 years. Shannon, when he's in season, is here routinely in and out. And also just highly professional all the time. So obviously you don't get this sustained success without a great character. So let's unpack a bit of that tonight. So Shannon, we've got a mic we're going to bounce between tonight. But first up, I'll just move my chair back so I don't kiss you. First up, just a few little questions so we can get to know you a little bit better. Mate, can you tell us about how you got started in Ironman surf lifesaving?
Yeah, so hi everyone, thanks for having me here tonight. Yeah, I joined Nippers, Service Paradise Surf Club, when I was about 12. So my dad was the Nipper board coach there, and I played a lot of sports, but I joined Nippers when I was 12. He had a background in surf lifesaving. He was a good board paddler when he competed, so he won a few Australian medals in the boards and been around surf clubs his whole life, and was doing a bit of coaching. So I joined, and as I said, I played a lot of sports probably till I was 15, 16, and then I decided that Ironman was the one I wanted to have a crack at.
So, as a natural athlete, can you elaborate on those other sports?
Yeah, I did a lot of running when I was younger, through primary school, made some state teams, I won some medals at the Australian titles, and then got a scholarship at TSS for running, so I did quite a bit of running. By the time I was 15, 16, I actually hated running over it and enjoyed surf lifesaving a lot more. So I played league, I played soccer at club, a bit of cricket, so I played a lot of sports, but you know, when I was down the beach and at Nippers and training, I enjoyed that most, so that was one I decided to have a go.
And Shannon, you said that you started at Surfers Paradise Surf Club, and from my recollection, you were there right through, weren't you, under the guidance of Trevor Hendy in your early part of your career, and your father, of course. Is that right?
Yeah, I was there from when I was 12 till about I was about 23. So I've been in Northcliffe now for 9 or 10 years. So just the 2 clubs I've raced for, but. Yeah, I was lucky enough to have the guidance of Trevor Hendy, who's, you know, I regard as the greatest Ironman. So when I was 15, 16, trained with him a couple of times a week, as well as my dad, and swimming with Dennis Cottrell as well. So I had 3 of, you know, what I regard probably the best coaches in the sport. So I asked a lot of questions, did what they said, and tried to learn from, you know, someone like Trevor. He had a great career, but he made mistakes throughout his career, and tried to learn off them. So I talked to him about them, and if I did a race, I'd ask him what I did right and what I did wrong. So I sort of fast-tracked my career, and you know, winning a world title at 18 years of age was pretty young, but I worked incredibly hard before I was 18 to get to that.
Yeah, obviously, and what did that look like, Shannon, going from the transition from junior, up and coming, you know, promising junior, to that first Australian title at 18 years of age, which is the Olympic gold of surf lifesaving? What were the steps you took to get there?
You know, from Nippers through cadets to under 18s, I trained extremely hard. I didn't miss many sessions. My swimming was probably my weakest leg when I was probably 16 years of age, so I did a lot of work with Dennis on my swimming and improved that. And we had, when I was 16, Kai Hurst was probably nearly 20, and he was dominating the sport, and his swim leg's the best we've ever seen. His craft's probably not as strong as some of the other guys, but he'd win just on the back of his swimming. So everyone in the sport had to improve their swimming, and that's what I worked on. So you got to know your opposition and know how you can beat them, and Kyle was dominating, so I was only young and wanted to get better, and I had to improve my swimming. So
what did that look like? How many sessions were you doing in the pool a week back then?
Yeah, I I never swum more than 4 sessions a week, which isn't much compared to what some of the other guys do, but they were 4 quality sessions. Then I do 2 Ironman sessions where I swim as well. So they were the 6 times I'd swim a week, but I'd do a couple of board, 3 ski, a little bit of running as well, even though by that time I didn't like it too much, but general fitness, running extremely helpful.
Great. And Shannon, you mentioned Trevor Hendy was in your corner from your junior days. Can you think of what's the best bit of advice he gave you as a junior that you think really helped you catapult onto that Australian Ironman title and beyond?
Oh, he's I don't know, one time the Australian Ironman Championships, or the Australian Championships, I was leading a board race by a long way, ended up coming 4th. Some guys come through on a wave, and I was filthy because I hadn't won that event before, and the board was something I really wanted to win, but later on in the day I was coming 3rd or 4th in the Ironman, and I got a cracking wave and won that event. So, but before that, after the board, he said, these things happen in the sport. It really settled me down, and what goes around comes around in the sport. It's a bit of a roller coaster. You have to take the good with the bad, and I think just that piece of advice there just settled me down, and I got a bit of luck in the Ironman, and I'll never forget it.
And so can you just talk us through the emotions after that first Australian Ironman title at 18?
Yeah, that's the holy grail of our sport, the Australian Ironman title. There's so many great guys on the list, and there's so many great guys not on the list because they're so hard to win. So it's the one constant in our sport. Calling it a gold has come and gone. And the professional series, there was the Uncle Toby's, now there's the Kellogg's, so that comes and goes, but the Australian Ironman title is the one constant throughout the last 60 years. So, and the Aussies are the big event in our sport. There are 7,000 competitors on the beach, so it's you get pumped up to race there. And the first one was pretty special. You want to get on that list. So, and the only one that my dad was around for. So.
Yeah, wow. So that was the start of 6 others to come. And yes.
Yeah, I probably can remember 4 out of the 7. There's 3 that I can't really remember. So the last 2 were pretty cool. They're pretty clinical races. I just the perfect race plan and got the waves that I needed to, and won pretty comfortably. The one before that was just after I had the first little girl, Ellie. So it was 2 weeks after Ellie was born, and she was there. And then I remember the first one back in 2003. So.
Wow. And on that, Shannon, your family, Belinda's your wife, and you've been married now for how many years?
5 years on Friday.
Oh, 5 years on Friday. Excellent. Well, you've got it in the diary. And so 5 years. Where did you meet Belinda? How did you first connect with Belinda?
Through running. So she was a sprint hurdler, and I was doing silly long distance running. So through running a long time ago. She came to my formal back in 2000. So it's been a long time.
I think from recollection, Belinda and yourself were dating before you went on to some of the Ironman success you had, so you knew each other very early in the piece, didn't you? And so something good did come from running. See, it's a great sport. And Shannon, and then Ellie, you mentioned Ellie, and I think we saw this in the footage there with, maybe it wasn't in that one, it might be one of the others I've seen, but where you run up the beach and you give tribute to young Ellie who had just been born. Was that in Perth, that one? In WA? That was Kira. How old's Ellie now?
Ellie's 3. Getting married, having a family, sort of the next chapter in your life. I'm probably not as dedicated to training and racing as I was, because you've got the family aspect now, and you can come home and you might have had a hard day, but you've got the family home, and there's different things to worry about. So it's kind of cool. I thought probably when I was 28, 29, I'd probably only have a year or 2 left in the sport, but since I've been married and have Ellie, I've sort of carried on, and I could probably go another couple of years.
So as Ellie in the family unit, I became a dad a little bit after yourself, and certainly I can reflect on my personal change in how I view things and think about things and careers and different things. But I presume from what you just mentioned that Ellie's really added an extra element and motivation there to keep going?
Yeah, definitely. She comes right around Australia to the majority of my races, and it's good to have her there. Even before the race, she keeps me calm, and you go out and push her onto a wave and things like that. So, and you're not worrying about racing, and takes the pressure off. And there's not many guys in the series that are sort of married with kids, and more of the younger guys coming through. So it's kind of cool. I look at the worry on their face. They're trying to win races and trying to win a series, and I've sort of accomplished that and on the next chapter of my life and racing sort of pressure free.
Yeah, it's great insights. And tell me, Ellie, has she taken after, because Belinda was a very successful track athlete, wasn't she? She was like a state representative from recollection. What were her events, just out of interest?
Sprint hurdles she was doing, yeah.
So you were the polar opposites, eh? And Ellie's obviously got some incredible genetics there. Is she showing any affinity for the water, or?
Well, yeah, she does. She loves the water. So at our last Australian Championships, many of you might know Trevor Hendy won the board rescue with his son TJ. So that was the first time that father and son had done that. So this off-season, I've had Ellie on the front of the board doing some board rescue.
So how many years before we see father and daughter?
I'm not sure, but she can swim.
Mate, I'm sure. And your mum, Donna, some people here tonight may know that Donna actually, your mother, Shannon, she had a successful campaign at the Coolangatta Gold. How many years ago was that now?
She did it for her 50th birthday. She said, I want to do the Coolangatta Gold. So she gave herself a couple of years. Never paddled a board before. She'd done a bit of kayaking, but never paddled a board before. But she's a fitness freak, so she enjoys that, and she's always out running and riding and swimming. So.
And so there's certainly a gene pool in the Eckstein family, and obviously Shannon, your late father Bill, he was a great athlete in his own right, wasn't he? Can you elaborate a little bit on your father's successes?
Yeah, he won a few Australian board relay championships and podium in the board race. Never won the board race, but yeah, he was a very hard coach when I was younger, and it's sort of hard to get coached by your father. But yeah, very, very tough, and sort of instilled that work ethic that I think my brother and I have carried on for our careers. So we train really hard, but we also had fun outside of the sport. When you're out training, when you're racing, you want to do it properly. You don't dedicate so much of your time to doing it if you're not going to do it properly.
And you mentioned your brother Kane, who I think everyone in the room is familiar with. Kane Eckstein, Shannon's brother, and
he does chin-ups.
Yeah, the chin-up records. What were your thoughts, Shannon, on chin-ups and the world record, which was how many chin-ups, Shannon?
It was over 4,000. Wow. I think he was doing 6 a minute for 12 hours or something.
You weren't tempted to have a bit of brotherly rivalry kick in there?
He's the silly one. He wins the Coolangatta Gold and I do the short stuff.
And so, and what's that been like, Shannon, going through your career? I recall one of the series where Kane pipped you for the overall honours. What year was that? Nutri-grain series, that is?
About 2012 or, yeah.
How's that, coming runner-up to your brother? I imagine if you had to pick anyone in the field, you'd pick your brother.
Yeah, I come third that year. Ali comes second. So, yeah, if you can't win, you'd like your brother to win. So, there's not too much you can do in an Ironman race of helping each other. It's all sort of every man for himself. But we do a lot of training together and push each other in training. We do a lot of swimming with Dennis, and he really pushes the squad too. So, he's kind of different to me. He sort of races and trains angry. He's got to be angry at someone or angry at the world to get himself up, where I'm sort of a little bit more laid back.
And Shannon, before we move off family and things, what's the one memory? Tell us about a memory you've got from all the years of racing, all the events with Kane. What's a really special moment that you would fondly recall where Kane and yourself achieved something in the sport? What would that be if you could pick just one memory of all the racing over the years?
Yeah, the Aussies at Perth 2 years ago now, we come first and second in the Ironman, so that's never been done before. That was pretty cool. We did first and third, I think, in 2010, so we bettered that in first and second. I think the Mercer brothers had a first and third too.
Wow, so that'd be, I imagine, many decades and years before that's ever reproduced, if ever again. So, just a few light-hearted questions now, mate, just to get to better know you, the man behind the racing togs. I'm actually going to put my stopwatch on, and we're going to have a 1-minute lightning round of Shannon's favourite things. So, Shannon, here we go. Your favourite colour?
Blue.
Your favourite food?
Steak.
Favourite Olympic sport? You don't have to worry about Olympics. Car?
Yeah, I'm not too much into cars either. Yeah.
Athlete?
Leighton Hewitt.
Cool. 30 seconds to go. Favourite movie?
The Shawshank Redemption.
Restaurant?
Social in Broadbeach.
Australian city?
Melbourne.
World city?
San Sebastian.
Breakfast?
Nutri-grain.
Very professional. And favourite dessert?
Oh, I love dessert. Any ice cream.
Cool, mate. Well done. Big round of applause for that. And Shannon, if you could be a professional athlete in any other sport, and given your junior history, there's that potential to do that, what would it be and why?
Golf. I'd love to play golf, but I'm not that good. I don't know. There's not. No, as I said, I played a lot of sports when I was young, and this is one I enjoyed the most. So if I could choose one, this would be it. Well, I went to uni for 3 years. I actually stole all Brad's lecture notes for 3 years to get through uni.
I can't remember that. Is that right? Did I give them to you? Did you actually steal them?
You gave me. So I did 3 years of exercise science, probably a year or two after you doing physio.
So, but you haven't needed to call on that degree, mate. So
I have to come and work here. So.
We'd love to have you, Shannon. So it'd be golf. Who's your favourite golfer?
Mate, Rory McIlroy, probably.
Why do you admire Rory?
Just because he's young, and you know the generation above him were getting dominated by Tiger Woods, and he's sort of come out and sort of he's on top now.
I have to admit, Shannon, I am ignorant to partner T when it comes to golfing. I don't know much about it at all. I've been on the golf course probably half a dozen times, and each time out there I want to actually put the club down and go for a run. I've just got no patience. I actually walked off the course last time I was out there, so I don't think we'll ever get out on the golf course together. Did actually run. Shannon, what does Ellie think you do? Does she understand what you do?
Yeah, I think so. All she says is go daddy when I'm racing, but yeah, she enjoys coming to the races. If we go, we're going to the beach today, she goes, are you racing? So yeah, she associates the beach with what I do. Yeah.
Cool. And Shannon, before we head into some racing questions, racing specific, one other kind of off-topic question that's just an interesting one. If you could be an animal, what would you be and why? If you were an animal.
I don't know. I saw some dolphins out there riding the waves today, so that'd be pretty cool.
So why are they cool?
Because I get to ride the waves.
Good answer. All right, Shannon, we have a few questions from the audience, and we're just going to pepper these through the night, guys. The first one's from Barbara, and it is, how important is stretching daily to you? Stretching, because it might not.
I probably never thought of going to a physio or stretching before I was 25, and then I started, tightening up and getting a few niggling injuries, and so yeah. So how important I stretch? I get to training pretty early compared to a lot of the other guys, and do some key stretches that I need to do. So yeah, I do them every day.
So how early? You mentioned you get there pretty early. Like, is it
15 minutes early? Yeah.
Before most sessions or all sessions?
Most sessions, yeah.
And that's a habit you've had right through your career. Take notes, guys.
Not throughout. Probably when I was younger, I didn't do it though.
So at 25, what happened at that time to make you start to appreciate the value of that?
You get the overuse injuries, I think. So your shoulder starts to go, or your knees, or something like that. So yeah, you probably don't think about it when you're young and you can recover, but when you're older, it's all about. You might have to miss a session or two to recover and get over the top of those niggling injuries.
And another question from the audience here, guys. What leg of the race, from Jefferson, what leg of the Ironman do you enjoy the most?
Probably ski. I enjoy that the most, but Trevor told me when I was younger, don't have a favourite, don't have a favourite order of the event, because they get drawn at the carnival. So if it gets drawn ski, board, swim, and you hate that order, all of a sudden you're thinking negative about the race. So I try to enjoy all of them. Whatever the draw is, you've got to think about how you're going to win that race, whatever way the draw is. But these days, you can't have a weak leg, so you got to, as I said when I was younger, I improved my swimming, whereas probably 20 years ago, you could have had a weak leg. It's like triathlon these days. The Brownlee brothers, you know, they don't have a weak leg and they're dominating. That's sort of where Ironman is at this stage.
Interesting. So, so Shannon, over to some racing specific questions. The first would be, I think people that have followed your career have heard you call or termed from, you know, commentators like we heard earlier, the Professor, many times over. Where did that nickname originate from?
That's Channel 9. Andrew Voss was commentating probably 6, 7, 8 years ago, and he started calling me that.
So it was Andrew Voss that first labelled you the Professor. What was the rationale? I mean, what I've heard from that is that you're a very clinical racer. And
the only one in the series with a uni degree.
that was how it started. So I'll have to go and do the stats, but there you go. So that was only because I went you the notes, I remember. So, and tell me, on race day, you've raced, oh gosh, it'd be countless times over the years. It'd be interesting to add it up, how many events you've done. But what's your pre-race or pre-morning ritual that you follow, if there is one?
Yeah, depends what the race is. For a Kellogg's race, we race about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'll get up, have cereal, go for a swim, go to the pool. I'll probably swim 1500. Or go down the beach and do half an hour of an Ironman. To come home, have some eggs on toast, and just watch TV for a while. Get down the beach to watch the girls race. They'll race probably an hour, hour and a half before us. So I'll watch them, see what the conditions are like, and then do half an hour warm up, and I'm ready to go.
In that warm-up, Shannon, what do you do in that half an hour warm-up immediately before kickoff?
Pretty much just suss out the conditions. The other guys do a lot of starts and up-tempo stuff. I can sort of switch on pretty quickly. I just got to know what I've got to do in the race, where I've got to be, and once I've sorted that out, I'm pretty confident to get the start on. And
I've observed from a distance here before a few of the events on the coast, getting ready, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you take a bit of time to study conditions and sit and not move around. Is that something I imagine you do all the time?
Yeah, we're lucky. We get to watch the girls race before us, so if there's a sweep or if there's a rip or sandbanks, you get to see what's happening. So I make sure I get down there to watch how they race, and then I go out and suss the conditions out for myself. Yeah.
And the eggs on toast, how do you have those done?
How my wife cooks.
Belinda won't hear this.
No, I don't mind. Scrambled, fried.
Not fast. And Shannon, racing wise, what's the most or the toughest battle you've had in competition over the years, and why does that one stick in your mind? Can you tell us about that? The toughest battle?
I think the 3 times I've done the Coolangatta Gold, I finished 2nd, 3rd and 5th, I think. So I've led, with 5k to go, and had some problems with my calves, and then I did that 3 years in a row and got fitter and fitter and fitter. The 3rd year I was as fit as I could possibly be, and still couldn't last the last 4k, and so I went through a whole heap of testing, and as you know, we've found some sort of arterial stuff that's been compressed, so we're still trying to work out how we can get around that. But yeah, that's the sort of battle I could never win. I couldn't run 10k without having to walk, even if I was fresh or whatever. So it was like hitting your head against a brick wall trying to win that Coolangatta Gold, because I was sort of never going to do it unless we sort these proper teals out.
And without obviously revealing medical information, which is obviously not appropriate, but it's been a tricky ride for you. How have you adjusted to that, given that the Coolangatta Gold is one win that doesn't sit on the trophy shelf? Has that been hard to sort of watch that each year, or?
Not really, because Kane's been winning majority of them, but I've had as you know, the 2 operations, 1 on each leg. They haven't been that successful, and I'm booked in to go under the knife again on the 16th, so hopefully that'll work.
And Shannon, on surgeries, how many have you had over the last few years to do different bits and pieces with your body to keep you out there?
Yeah, I've had the pterygiums on both eyes. That's sort of from the sun and the surf. I've had the 2 legs and what do you call the back? Dissecting in the lower back, so not too many.
Yeah. And I think from memory you got 4 or so out of those done in about 12 months, would that be right? Or more? 5?
Yeah, I got all 5 done over 2 off seasons, so yeah.
pretty intensive. Yeah. And on racing terms, Shannon, you just described the Coolangatta Gold. Was it 4Ks to go? You were still leading. Is that right? With that pretty race.
Yeah.
Who passed you just out of interest on that run home? Was it Kane? Or?
First year was Kane and Jeremy Cotter. Second year, Zane won, and I don't know who else. Heaps of people passed me. The last year, just Reece Jury. Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully we'll see the tide turn. And Shannon, racing-wise, there's been, with a career as long as yours, you've seen some major, your main rivals, I guess, bar a few, like you mentioned, Kai Hurst at the start, and but you've seen, some other great guys up there contesting with you, and they've, since come and gone, finished their careers. Who would you rate as your greatest rival, or the toughest competitor that you've come up against over all the years?
Zane Holmes, he was always the hardest to beat. He's kind of like myself. All of his legs were pretty strong, and then you'd never beat him up the beach in a sprint finish, so you had to get it done out in the water. Couldn't come in on the same wave as him, or you'd finish second, so he was probably the hardest to beat.
And how many years were you head-to-head with Zane for?
Oh, probably a decade. Yeah, he won two series in a row. Before I'd gone on a bit of a streak and won a few, so yeah, it was kind of hard to get over the top of him.
And Zane, what year did he retire now? That was...
he's still paddling skis, but he hasn't done an Ironman for probably 3 or 4 years,
And were there any races, particularly with Zane, where you got up and had a win over Zane that you really remember? As sticking as highly memorable?
Not really. Once at Coogee, we used to have this big grand final down there with a bit of prize money on the win down there, so I got over the top of him over there. I think it might have been that footage of sprint finish. So.
Spurring him to the line. And well, guys, we have actually a bit of big surf footage of Shannon, just to stretch your legs and rotate the neck. So if you want to stand your feet and jump up, give the legs a shake, get off those hard plastic chairs, we'll have a look at Shannon in action.
It's on, ladies and gentlemen. Eckstein putting everything into it. Time one, Shannon Eckstein, he's got, oh jeez, he's in the wash somewhere.
So Shannon, of that footage, any of those races you remember? Big surf?
Not the last couple of years. We haven't had, last year the Kellogg series, we were lucky to go away, but we had 6 races and they were all pretty flat, and Aussies was at Cura, so it was pretty flat, but yeah, some of that footage is Kurrawa, some I think probably Portsea, so we haven't been down there for a few years. I'm not sure where we'll race this year, but hopefully we'll get waves.
And your preference, I noticed in conversations I've had over the years, I think you're more certainly finding racing in the challenge in surf, are you?
Yeah, especially at my age, it's hard when it's flat water like a lake. It's hard to get motivated. You obviously want to win, but it's kind of when it surfs up, you really want to go out there and race. So, yeah, it's I suppose the first round last year was at Smith's Beach, and we'd been there the previous year, and it was 10 foot. This year it wasn't even breaking, so to fly all the way over to Perth and drive to Margaret River to get there, and it's like a lake. It was pretty depressing.
That was this year,
yeah. The series just gone, yeah.
And from memory, that was the first round that I think by your own, and certainly I think at the end of the season this year just gone, that result with a close finish with Ali.
Yeah, so I came 8th in that first race, which you drop 11 points to Ali, and I lost the series by 1. So yeah.
So how do you process that, Shannon? Like obviously you've racked and stacked the series wins at 8 even ahead of that. And I mean, I think of only one other athlete, Kelly Slater, that has been as dominant as you, more dominant than you over the years in terms of his sport. But how did you process that? Was that disappointing? I imagine it obviously was.
Oh, it's disappointing, but I've got no one to blame except myself. So in our sport, because we have so many variables with the surf, luck does come into play, and some people can use that as an excuse. But there was no excuses for me. I just wasn't good enough in the first race. Whether I was sick or injured, it doesn't matter. You got to be right on the day and take responsibility for your results. And I tried to get the points back. I won 3 of the next 5 races, but lost by 1 point. So it's the way it goes.
And speaking of Kelly Slater, as a fellow incredible man in the ocean, have you ever had much to do with Kelly, or ever been in the surf with him, or shared tips, stories?
Through Trevor, we had dinner in LA after the world titles all the way back to 2002. So I was really young and just won a world Ironman title in Florida, and we saw Kelly on the way back. Yeah.
So that was 2002, and so did he have hair then?
No.
Can't recall. So that was Florida, did you say?
We raced in Florida, but we saw him actually in LA.
Okay, so no surf. And Shannon, I got some questions from the audience tonight, probably tying well with that footage. Were you ever scared of big waves, sharks, etc., and how did you get over it?
I've never really been scared of big waves. Sharks, they're out there. It's you don't see many, if any. I've had a good experience, or interesting experience with a crocodile once. We did a charity paddle from Gove to Darwin, which is like 1,000 across Northern Territory, with a lot of Ironmen like Trevor Hendy, Grant Kenny. Was raising money for a helicopter they needed up there to rescue people in floodlands and stuff like that. So we did this charity paddle, and there's a big barge that goes ahead of the day, and then you're in the water for a couple of hours paddling. There's a tinny and a guy on a ship with a shotgun in case any crocs come up, who follows you. And this crop, you can see him 50 metres just going up and down in the swell in front of us, and we all just looked at it all around. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Was that ski or board?
Ski. Yeah.
Ski. And so that was 1,000 kilometres.
Yeah, it was over 2 weeks or something. Yeah. So it was a cool trip. Yeah.
Wow, and that was ski the whole way, 1,000 kilometres.
Yeah, and you sleep on the big barge at night. Yeah. Cool.
Do you have any other encounters with crocs on 1,000 k's in the no? And any fears that you've had outside of the encounter with the crocs, mate? Like that big surf, does that excite you when you're on the start line?
Yeah, I don't get scared by that. I'm excited to when it's like big like that. You're not racing anyone else on the start line. It's sort of you against the surf. Whoever can hold their ski, hold their board, or hold a swim wave is going to win. So it's not. You're not racing anyone else, you're sort of just testing yourself in those conditions, and that's what you get excited for. And
is there any one wave that sticks in your mind throughout your career? Like, just that was all the time? Not really?
I've got a bad memory.
I reckon that first one was pretty impressive, going down it. And another question from the audience, Shannon, how do you keep believing in yourself? It's from Barb.
Yeah, it's easy to lose confidence, even if you've had a good period of success. After that 8th place, you're sort of wondering, am I fit enough, or have I lost my speed, or what's going on? So it's kind of hard to lose confidence, but at the end of the day, you just go back to the drawing board, train hard, do the right things, and step on the start line and give it your all. There's not much else you can do.
And is there a time where your confidence really dipped and you just couldn't see a way forwards in your career?
Probably when I was about 28, I probably was thinking about retirement because I wasn't enjoying the sport anymore. I was having little niggling injuries. I think when you've got those niggling injuries and you can't do the things you want to do, so if you can't do the running or you can't do the swimming that you need to do to be successful, you don't want to step on the start line because you know you're not 100%. So I think if you can get your body right and then you can do the training, you're going to be confident that you're going to be successful.
And what's been, Shannon, the most frustrating thing you've had to manage throughout your career, body-wise, outside of your calf, obviously your calves? Is there anything that really just niggled away?
Not really. The shoulder from swimming, I don't know what you call that. That niggled away for a few years, but then we got on top of that. if it takes, coming in here twice a week for 6 months to get on top of it, then for me, I'll have to do that because that's my job. I want to be successful at it. I want to keep doing it. So it's as important as going swimming training to keep your body right.
And Shannon, on swimming training, you've swum at Pizzy Park since you're junior, is that right?
20 years under Dennis's program, not the entire time with Dennis, with his assistants for a few years when I was younger, but I've been at Wyoming for about 20 years.
So is there an honorary lane coming for you?
Not really. Well, Grant's back now. He was swimming there before me, but he left for a few years. But not really. No, you get nothing there. Can get in a little bit later and get out early sometimes.
Now, at this stage.
Yeah.
So you've had to earn that over 20 years. So there you go. Tips, guys, to get in and out of the pool early after all those years. And Shannon, before we dig a little bit more into the training routine, you mentioned Grant Kenny before there. What were your first memories like that really inspired you outside of Trevor Handy and your father, that you can recall from maybe watching the series on TV? But have you got any memories of watching guys go around?
I told you my memories about it. No, I remember, so I grew up in Mermaid Waters, family houses on a canal, so we'd watch the Uncle Toby's on a Sunday afternoon, and Kane and I would go out and race in the canal. You wouldn't do that anymore, there's too many sharks, but we'd go out on a Sunday afternoon and race each other after watching Uncle Toby's. So that's probably the earliest memories of being inspired by those guys.
And at that stage, who was dominant in the series in Uncle Toby's?
Probably Trevor. He's the one guy most people remember. There's guys like Simon Martin and Scott Reeves were successful, for 1 or 2 years, but Trevor's the constant over sort of that 10-year period. And
how old were Kane and yourself at that stage? You were just teenagers, were you?
Yeah, we'd be 8 and 10.
Who would get the wins in the canal duels?
Older brother always wins.
Excellent. How are we going, guys? Everyone's doing all right? Cool. What was it like? Obviously, Trevor Handy's mentioned has been someone you've looked up to your whole career. What was it like when you this year at Coolangatta at Kirra surpassed what was Trevor's record of 6 Australian titles to become the most dominant Ironman in surf lifesaving history when he took out the 7th Australian title? Can you unpack that, the emotion and what that day was like and what it meant to you?
It's just really another number to me. To have the most, it doesn't really mean too much to me. I'm still trying to win more. So Trevor was there on the Sunday afternoon, and he kind of come up and just went, "You can have it." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, he doesn't want that pressure on his shoulders to have be the greatest or whatever. So that was his reaction. So he's got no ego and those sorts of things. Trevor, he's been pretty good to me. So I wasn't going out there to break any records. I just was winning one at a time and trying to improve and get better every year. And when I lost a couple there that kind of hurts, so it adds fire in the belly to come back and keep improving.
So to you, is the process? Do you look at the process more than the result when you're getting ready for events and title?
In our sport, it's kind of like that, because you can be the best guy on the day, the fittest guy, the fastest in every leg, and still not win the race due to some luck. So that's why winning the Aussies is so hard, because you've got to be right for that 12 or 15 minute period, get through the heats and get all the way to the final and be right. So that's why it's so hard to win. But coming into the Aussies the last 2 years, I've known I had to be the best swimmer in the field to try and win that, and that was the plan, to sort of go away from the pack in the swim, and both times I've been leading and got a little wave to extend that. So you've got to come up with a plan maybe 4 or 6 weeks out of how you're going to try and win this race, and then the training's geared around that.
And in developing that strategy for the race, Shannon, is that something that you exclusively at this stage of your career will take control of, or you still look to coaches to guidance?
I've got a good understanding of what I can do and what sort of my opposition can do. I know their strengths and weaknesses and where I can try and break away. And when I was younger, the run legs were where I tried to break away. Now I'm slower. I've got to do it in the water. So swimming's probably my strength against those guys. So yeah.
And with the running, Shannon, is that you said you're slower? I still wouldn't classify you slow, but can you unpack that a bit? Do you mean with slower with what the uptake of speed, or?
Probably that I just don't do as much running as I used to. We've worked on my Achilles for a couple of years now, just trying to get that right so I can do a couple of transition sessions over a month, whereas I do 2 a week, 3 or 4 years ago. So now probably I don't have that recovery that I used to have. We sort of manage it, and I can still try and win Ironman races, but you just got to come up with ways around how your body is.
And great. So, and Shannon, before we move into to some other questions from the audience, training wise, you're about to get back into your next season with a few little surgical interventions in between now and then. But when you start back in full peak preparation for a series, nutri-grain series, could you just describe on a high level sort of typical week for you? What does it look like?
Yeah. So. Training for the Kellogg's race, which will be my first major goal for this season, I need 20 weeks to get fit and get ready for that. So a general week would be 4 swim sessions with Dennis in the mornings. We swim 6K, something like that. Another 2 mornings will be Ironman sessions at the beach. There's the 6 mornings, Sunday off, and then 3 ski, 2 board in the afternoons, and then a gym. And maybe a couple of little running things here and there if I can do them.
Physio exercises right through the week. And with the pool mate, chasing that black line for all these years, what's the session you dread the most when it goes up on the board?
10 300s. Now, most Mondays he writes up 10 300s, pretty much every second or third week. If I see that up there, I'll just get out. I'll try not to, but yeah, it's pretty boring.
Hard to get focused on it. What's the one you like the most, swimming specifically?
Hundreds. Probably a Tuesday, Thursday we do some sort of heart rate hundreds where you descend them, so they're probably the best ones.
And what's your, just because you obviously you're paddling canals, you lakes, and surf. What's your favourite training venue on the coast that you just every time you get into it you just really?
I enjoy when a big subway is up, getting dropped off on the ski at Snapper and paddling back to Northcliffe. That's 20, 22k, but when the wind's up and there's less swell, it's fun chasing the runners. It only takes probably an hour 10, so it's pretty quick. That's the most enjoyable session. Kane and I do a session at the council chambers at Evandale. It's only a small lake, but we can do some fast Ironmans in there, and that probably hurts the most, those little ones.
Are they specifically just before an event normally, or?
Yeah, usually if we go to like an Aussies where we know it's going to be flat, you can do Ironmans in there, 6 or 7 minute Ironmans, but they're pretty fast.
And Kane obviously from just what I've gathered over the years doesn't mind isolation in training. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's a bit of a lone wolf. He does a lot of his running by himself and long paddles and.
And do you, Shannon, enjoy your company in training, or at times you like a mix? Or
no, I couldn't go to training on my own. I don't think I need people to push me and mingle with.
And obviously, being in Northcliffe as your second club for so many years, you've played probably a significant role in some of the juniors' development over the years.
Yeah, I've just taken a role coaching the 17s, 15s, and 14s at Northcliffe, so it's a bit of a part-time role. The last month we've been doing 3 sessions a week, so it's been pretty good. A lot of them guys and girls are just getting on the ski, so it's teaching them technique work and that, but it'll probably drop off once I start training and racing a little bit. So yeah, it's a new sort of aspect to my life.
Can you see yourself doing that ongoing in terms of passing on knowledge?
Yeah, I've enjoyed the last month, so yeah.
I think if I was a junior, I'd be pretty rapt to have Shannon Eckstein as my coach in surf lifesaving, so I'm sure you're making a great difference there. A couple of questions from the audience, and then we'll just dig into a few other questions. And so the first one here, Angie, how do you maintain your health in the sport so long, and how do you stay motivated?
Motivation's kind of easy. It's my job. It's how I feed my family, but I always got to try and keep improving. So I have little goals. Little goals to improve, like improve my swimming or improve board paddling or whatever. So and then health-wise, have a good physio. And I'm not too strict on my diet. Everything in moderation for me. So I think a lot of the guys I race are a lot stricter with their diet, and someone like Ali has to be because he's got allergies. But a lot of the guys are a lot stricter. But I'm sort of everything in moderation. I'm not silly. I have a couple of pieces of fruit a day and eat well. But if I do feel like binging, then I'll binge.
So binging on chocolate?
Chocolate, McDonald's chocolate.
Well, I saw recently a triathlete that I used to do a little bit with the junior scene with, who got sponsored by McDonald's, and I thought that was an interesting sponsorship. They've never approached you?
No.
And food-wise, who shares the cooking duties in the Eckstein household?
No, we share most of the time. So Belinda, she's a school teacher, so she might get home late, so I cook. But yeah.
What's his signature dish?
Barbecue.
Barbecue. And so cool. And so in the last sort of 10 minutes, and then we'll have, if everyone's happy, just for a few minutes at the end, we'll just pass the mic around for any burning questions that have emerged through the night. A couple of other questions that are a bit less specific in training and racing, but general questions. Was there ever a time in your career, Shannon, when you looked at the Olympic Games in action over the years and felt an urge to chase an Olympic sport?
Not really. Kai's been into Olympics in 10k swimming, but I wouldn't enjoy trying to make that. I don't think it'll be good enough anyway. Kayaking's one that I probably could have had a crack at, but it's a lot of time in Europe, overseas, away from family and friends, and I didn't want to go over there. And plus, it's it's a tough sport. It's hard to make money in some of the Olympic sports when you go overseas for a while, and no one really cares about you until every 4 years when you're a chance of winning a medal. You're sort of in the wilderness for three years till it's an Olympic year. But I've enjoyed Ironman and yeah, never really gave it too much thought.
Yeah, interesting. And there was some talk from recollection of Ironman possibly featuring in the Commonwealth Games. Is there any?
Oh, I'm not sure. It'd be a good fit as one of the not sure what they call them, the exhibition sports. Yeah, it'd be good fit. Yeah.
So we might see you in 2018. So on that, how many seasons are you sort of at this stage? And obviously this is just a bunch of people, just you and I talking here. But how many seasons do you see that you want to keep chasing?
Hopefully I'll get through all of this year, and then the next world titles are in the Netherlands, September 2016. So that's 14 months or so. So if I can get another 14 months, that'd be good. And then on the back of that, you could go another summer here, and we'll see.
Excellent. One last question from the audience: how would you transition? This is an interesting question for you. From surf lifesaving to triathlons, and I get a mouthful of water while you answer.
Me? I wouldn't.
You wouldn't? Never had a thought. Obviously, Kane.
Not really. Kane's, and I think he was riding really well. So he did Kona maybe 2 or 3 years ago. His swim leg was the fastest, I think, in Kona's history, which is, as you expect, I think, for one of the Ironman, they swim quite well against the triathletes. But I think he was riding quite well with his squad that he was riding with, but he had a tumour in his heel, so he knew he wasn't going to be able to finish the run, but he just went and did it anyway. So he probably could cross over to the endurance stuff better than anyone in the sport. Yeah.
Have you ever done a triathlon? Sorry. Oh, thanks, Pete. No interest, clearly. Excellent. So, in bringing the ship into land, or to the port, the ships don't land, plane to land. POGO Physio. And I said to my wife, Shannon, as I walked out, I have to think of how Andrew Dennon interviews his guests, and I didn't really take notes of how he did it. Just some sort of quick questions that hopefully don't require too much thinking on your behalf, mate. It's just getting the end of the evening now. How much time do you devote on average in a season to body management? To your physio exercises, etc. Your work here at practice.
Well, I'd come in here at least once, and then another massage a week. One ice bath a week. I do a lot of pocket physio stuff, lying on the mat at home, watching TV. So that's probably the biggest thing that I do is pocket physio.
Cool. For those that don't know, they're the little gadgets that stick into trigger points and get a really good release of the muscle tension. Diets, we've covered diet, sleep. Have you got a fairly stable sleep routine? Obviously when Ellie was born, that was probably thrown in a world of chaos.
She was a good sleeper, luckily. No, I'm in bed most nights at 8:30, so I'll be asleep by 9 and then get up at 5 to go swimming. So you're still getting quite a bit of sleep, and if I need a nap, I'll nap from 1 to 2 in the afternoon before training.
And it's interesting to hear you say that, Shannon. Some research that just came out has showed some athletes in the US that they studied, those that don't get 8 hours of sleep a night regularly are 1.7 times more likely to get injured. So it's quite interesting. So obviously a good sleep routine's probably helped a lot over the years. And Shannon, this is a physio question. What's your favourite physio exercise and why? You've got to have one.
What's the Superman one?
The Leighton Hewitt, not the Leighton Hewitts. You said you like Leighton.
What's the fire extinguisher one?
Yeah, fire hydrants. Yeah. So you're doing those. You were. Now it comes out. Shannon, mate, you've been great. We've got a couple here to go. 4, in fact. Mental focus. Do you listen to music on the start line? I've watched a few of the other blokes on the start line and they've got the headphones on, and I'm sure the preset tracks. Have you ever gone down that path?
No, I'm pretty laid back. I can talk and joke and then switch on in 10 or 20 seconds really. So yeah, there's a lot of guys that put the headphones on and get pumped up, but I'm kind of the opposite. If I did that, I'd probably run down and fall off a board or something. So relaxed works best for me.
And outside of Ironman, which obviously you're looking at for the next few years, is there any physical challenges that you'd like to take on? Obviously not the Ironman triathlon in Kona. Whether it's climbing a mountain or doing something. Is there anything on the bucket list?
Stuff that came, breaking records. No, not really. I'd like to walk Kokoda one day, but yeah.
Kokoda in Papua New Guinea. All right, well, we heard it first here tonight. And last question, Shannon, before we do a quick roving mic to round out the evening. What advice would you, this is kind of an Andrew Dentnish question, so get ready. What advice would you give a 20-year-old version of yourself if you were to speak to him today?
Probably start getting massages once a week. Yeah.
Is that right? From what age?
20.
From 20?
Yeah, I started getting those niggly injuries when I was probably 24, 25, so if I saw massage or physio or those sort of stuff when I was earlier, it might have stopped the onset of that.
Yeah, very interesting. And it's an extra add-on question before we go roving, Mike. What advice would you give to the juniors in any sport? If you had to pick 3 things, if you were coaching your daughter early and you could only instill 3 bits of wisdom from all your years of training racing successfully, what would those 3 tips be? 3 tips for sports success.
I think if you want to do something and do it properly, so if you choose to try and make it in a sport, then you've got to be dedicated to it, not half dedicated. You've got to have a real good go, because there's people around the world that are going to do that. So if you want to try and match it with them, then you've got to match the dedication. I think it's also important to have things outside the sport. So when you're in that training and racing, you're in that 100%. But also when you're outside of that, you've got a lot of other things to do. Like I went straight to uni from school and did 3 years at uni, and it was good mixing with other people outside of surf lifesaving. You have a whole different life, and then sort of the family aspect now takes a different. You got a different perspective on your racing as well. That's 2. There you go.
No, excellent. I think those 2 are brilliant. Guys, we've got time for 3 questions from the audience tonight. So I'll just do a roving mic, and Shannon's in the hot seat, and then we'll be wrapping up. So we've got Brian here with a question.
Thanks. Shannon, I'm just an old man, but I'm interested, you obviously look after your body, Phil. You mentioned massaging was a key component of what you do, but you mentioned ice baths. So is that something you do on a fairly regular basis?
At Northcliffe we have ice baths. There's set up there twice a week. So after a Wednesday Ironman session and a Saturday Ironman session, there's ice baths there for for anyone in the squad that wants to take them. So I'll do them, yeah. And there's all different theories on what works with an ice bath, whether it's 1 minute in, whatever, hot and cold, or different things. But we're usually just sort of 2 to 3 minutes in, and that's it. Yeah.
John.
Thanks, Shannon. So the word on the street is that you're a pretty humble dude. So if you were to remove your little humble dude cap, who wins on a given day, you or Trevor Handy at your peak? And at his peak?
I think if we race 10 times, like over different formats, conditions, I think I'd probably win 7 or 8.
Maybe he's not that humble.
These days you can't have a weak leg, so I think our swimming has improved a lot over the last 20 years. So I think we're swimming a lot quicker times in the pool than what they would have. Not to say that Trevor couldn't do that if he was pushed, but so I think as long, it is a tremendous sport, but all sports moves on and people get faster. In 20 years' time, there's going to be people quicker than me.
And last question, guys. Let's have the last question for the night. Burning question. Alex.
Shannon, just more so on nutrition, in terms of maybe 2 quick questions in terms of what you eat on for example, when you get up to go swimming at 5, and also on game day when you're racing.
Yeah, so on the way to the pool, I'll have a banana and an Endura Optimizer. It's just like a meal replacement sort of thing, a carb and protein mix. So I'll have that, a little shake of that, and a banana on the way to the pool. Race day, I really do eat nutri-grain before a carnival. I really do. Or if it's the Kellogg's race and we will race later on in the day, then I'll have sort of cereal, then I'll have eggs on toast sort of thing.
Yeah, certainly one more from Phil.
Also on nutrition, I was a sports person long ago, and in my days we really ate just food. I see today is a lot of just protein shakes and all these tablets. Is it that important these days to take those things?
I think depends on your diet. If you're eating well breakfast, lunch and dinner, and you're snacking on a couple of pieces of fruit a day, then there's probably no use for the supplements and the tablets and those sorts of things. I don't take too many supplements and tablets. So it's kind of, if you finish training, you've got to drive an hour somewhere, then you might need a protein shake, but just because you're not going to eat for the next hour. But if you're going home and have dinner, then you probably don't need in my opinion, you probably don't need a protein shake.
Well, guys, hopefully everyone's learned a few little tips and bits and had some great behind-the-scenes insights into what makes a champion. Shannon has graciously given up his family time tonight, so mate, we're all very appreciative for that. So on behalf of everyone here, we've got a little gift as to replace some of that family time and see you go have a nice meal with Belinda and maybe Ellie and toe up at Marina Mirage. So not Ellie, leave Ellie behind with the grandmother. And that's just we've just got a couple little random draws. I believe they're random, are they, Pete?
Yeah.
They are now. A massage voucher and a book, the running book that came out earlier in the year. So, Pete, how are we going to get these out? Any ideas? Push-up challenge? Shannon?
Under your seat.
I think we might, Shannon, what were the 2 questions tonight? They can't be ones I asked, because I can't win my own book or voucher, but that you enjoyed answering the most.
Well, mate. No, better way.
Alright, it's got to be a better way. Yeah, Pete's Irish, so this is going to be a novel idea.
No, just a quick question. It was at the start we had Shannon's career results, so who can remember how many Australian titles Shannon's won?
7.
Hands up, random. Yeah, just shout it out.
7.
Who was first to say 7? The front here?
Australian.
We used to Australian, not Ironman.
Hey?
Yeah, they got it.
Did you get it right?
Winners go.
What's that?
35?
So you want to mean Australian gold medals or Australian Ironman gold?
Oh, sorry. I'd like to be more specific. Well, you don't get an Irishman to ask an Australian. I'd never seen a wave before I came over here 6 years ago, so.
Alright, the voucher.
And okay, well, how many nutri-grain series or Kellogg series has Shannon won?
7.
8.
Not.
With
Barbara.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, and so just thanks to some sponsors tonight who made this possible with the Coffee Club at the Q Super Centre with some of the food. Physio Cream, who have a great product. We use it in rooms with our patients here, and also Body Science, obviously, who have some little goodies on the chairs tonight. So, guys, all the best, and we actually are looking to do a sort of performance series over the next 12 months where we get different athletes with incredible stories and journeys to come in, and we just get behind the scenes a little bit. So, but the first, I think, is going to be a hard one to top with Shannon. So, thanks again for coming out, mate. So.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, really, really good.
What was the best bit of information you received?
I love how humble he is. There's no ego. Yeah, cool, thank you.
What was the best thing about tonight?
Just learning the background history behind Shannon. So you always see what's the perception through a camera, never through his eyes.
Yeah, no worries.
Right. And what about yourself, sir?
I thought he was just so easy to talk to, so I thought it was very helpful and quite humble and just easy listening.
You're a gentleman.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just the general information of structuring your day, and including stretching and nutrition as well. So just information that we can apply.
Yeah, it was very informative. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, so every day you get to meet sort of a world champion, and lots of good advice tonight, and I'll try and put a bit of that into my training.
Excellent, thank you. About tonight's format.
Oh, I thought it was fantastic how it was like an interview sort of process, and they asked
Very relaxed.
yeah, it was, and Brad asked questions that were given to him from the crowd.
Oh, it was a good evening actually. I mean, it's not every day you sit down with possibly the greatest athlete in the Gold Coast, in terms of performance, and just to hear his take on things, and just seeing how humble and unassuming he is. It's a good quality. I think he's left a good impression on especially the young people over here tonight as well.
Good to get an insight from a world champ. Just hear about all the nutrition and whatnot. Definitely benefited from it, especially heading into a couple of events myself. Runner, yeah.
Okay, so
and,
specifically, there's some good stuff there?
Definitely. Just for the trainer purposes, and especially food as well. Nutrition is probably a big one. You don't really get sucked into the whole science of the shakes and protein and whatnot. But
it was interesting, wasn't it? It was old school saying, "Hey, I didn't even worry about it."
Yeah. I think it's a lot more important to hear the real side of him. Eating McDonald's and whatnot. Not saying that you should go do that, but hearing that you can go eat McDonald's and still go out and become world champion. Yeah. It's just a matter of proportions and whatnot.
I think it gives you a little bit of an insight on what it takes to maintain your body, especially when you're training at such a high level. That's probably the biggest thing when you have athletes that are continually coming through your door with injuries. You tell pretty quickly the ones that are spending the time on their body in terms of doing their exercise that they've been prescribed, getting regularly to see their physio, and just doing those little kind of 1% and 2%ers that do make a big difference in terms of allowing you to keep on training and pushing your body to those limits like obviously these guys need to do. So.
And a dedication, you've got to be dedicated.
Yeah.
To be good at something, you've got to be dedicated.
And you've got to train before early you were able?
Yeah, very good evening, very well structured. I really liked the structure tonight, how it was interviewed. It was very casual. We learned a lot, a lot about Shannon himself, how he recovers, how he uses physio to better his performance, which is good. A lot of people forget about that. I probably myself, I'm not at his level, but I do a lot of stuff that I don't really do the physio when I probably should. So it's good to hear from him that he has that as something that he does every week religiously, so that he's at the best of his ability in the sport. But generally the evening was great, very casual, relaxed and comfortable, and I'd come to more. So
Yeah, it'd be great to see a few more athletes come in, especially getting a few younger kids in here and hearing these guys speak. And I think it'd benefit the next generation in a massive way. Definitely motivating to go chase their goals.
Have a look at this.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
on, ladies and gentlemen. Eckstein putting everything into it. Trying to time one. Shannon Eckstein. He's got. Oh, jeez. He's in the wash somewhere.